no transmissions, and no ships crossing the orbit. People had almost forgotten the fleet that left centuries ago. History turned their story into legend, their names lost in the dust of time. But one cold night, the silence broke. Astronomers at the Lunar Watch Station saw the first signs. A cluster of lights moving near the edge of the solar system, bright and steady, moving too perfectly to be natural. At first, they thought it was just debris from an asteroid belt. But then the lights changed formation. They began to move like soldiers returning to their home. Dr. Kira Voss, the senior scientist at the station, stared at the monitor in disbelief. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the focus. The image cleared, and she saw hundreds of metal hulls, glowing faintly blue, aligned in flawless order. She whispered under her breath, "No way! They came back." The message spread fast. Within hours, every major city was awake. Governments sent encrypted messages across the network. Satellites aligned. Every telescope turned toward the fleet that was coming home after 500 years. But no one knew why they were returning. The last record of the fleet said they left to fight an unknown enemy near the Orion frontier. That war was supposed to be lost. No human had heard from them since. And yet now, they were here. The fleet's approach changed everything. Radio channels were filled with static. Compasses malfunctioned. Even the stars in the sky seemed to shift slightly, like space itself was bending around the returning ships. On Earth, people gathered in open fields and rooftops, staring at the strange glow spreading across the night sky. Children pointed upward while news drones hovered above the crowds. Some people cried. Some prayed. Others stood in silence, their faces filled with awe and fear. Kira stayed at her console, trying to decode the signals coming from the fleet. They were transmitting something, but the data was broken, repeating in strange patterns. It was almost like a heartbeat, a slow pulse. She finally managed to isolate part of the transmission. The computer translated a fragment of human language mixed with old military code. Only 4 words appeared on her screen. "Home is not the same." Her breath caught in her throat. She repeated the message to Mission Control, but no one could understand what it meant. Was it a warning? A statement? Or a threat? By dawn, the fleet reached the outer orbit of Jupiter. Hundreds of ships hung in formation, silent and cold, like a metallic storm waiting to unfold. The lead ship was massive, larger than any vessel ever built by humans before. Its hull bore marks of battles fought in deep space, scorched and cracked, yet still powerful. Kira watched as Earth's defense satellites tried to scan them, but the data returned scrambled. The ships emitted a faint energy field that disrupted everything around them. Even light seemed to bend when it passed too close. Then, one by one, the ships began to power up. Blue energy lines glowed across their surfaces like veins awakening after a long sleep. The sound of distant thunder echoed through the radio systems. Kira pressed her earpiece, listening carefully. Among the static, a voice spoke. It was human. Tired, distorted, but human. "This is Admiral Wren of the Terran Fleet. We have returned." Every control room on Earth froze. People stared at each other in shock. The admiral who led the fleet was supposed to have died 5 centuries ago. There was no possible way he could still be alive. The message repeated. "We have returned. But the stars are wrong. The constellations are not where they should be. Tell us, what year is this?" Kira's pulse quickened. She whispered the current year into the transmitter. Silence followed for a long moment. Then the admiral's voice returned, weaker now. "We traveled too far. Time betrayed us." Before anyone could respond, all communication went dead. The ships dimmed, their lights fading until they disappeared from every radar. For a few seconds, it was as if the fleet had vanished into thin air. But when the sun rose, they were still there, visible in the sky near Jupiter, silent and unmoving. People started to question if these were really humans anymore. Their ships looked alive, pulsing with strange light. Some scientists claimed that the energy readings didn't match any known human technology. Others said the fleet might not even belong to Earth now. Kira couldn't stop thinking about the message. Home is not the same. What did they mean? Did they find something out there that changed them? Or did they bring something back with them? As the world held its breath, the fleet began to move again. This time, toward Earth. And for the first time in centuries, humanity looked to the sky not with hope, but with fear. The world could not sleep. Every screen, every broadcast, every conversation spoke only of one thing: the fleet that had returned. For the first time in centuries, all nations stood united, not in war or peace, but in pure uncertainty. In orbit above Earth, hundreds of satellites tracked the slow movement of the ancient fleet. They came closer with perfect precision, like a single living organism gliding through the void. The airwaves buzzed with theories. Were they survivors, heroes, or something else entirely? Dr. Kira Voss hadn't left her post in 30 hours. Her eyes were red, her voice tired, but her mind was burning with questions. She watched as the lead ship crossed the orbit of Mars. Every few seconds, it flickered with strange light, as if space itself resisted its presence. Suddenly, a message flashed across her screen, not from Earth Command, but directly from the fleet. The transmission was encrypted in an old code that no one used anymore. Kira worked quickly to translate it. When the message finally appeared, she froze. "We carry what must not follow us." Her hands trembled. She called her assistant, a young technician named Aaron, and together they sent the message to Mission Control. Within minutes, every top official on the planet was listening. No one understood what it meant. Some said it was a warning. Others believed it referred to something the fleet discovered, something dangerous. Then the signal stopped, replaced by a low humming sound that filled every radio on Earth. It wasn't noise, it was rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat, deep and mechanical. And then the lights began. Across the night sky, streaks of blue fire descended through the atmosphere. People screamed and pointed. The ships weren't attacking, they were landing. The first vessel touched down in the Pacific Ocean, creating waves that reached the shores of several nations. The water around it glowed bright white, and steam rose as if the sea itself boiled. The massive ship stood still, its surface alive with moving patterns of light. Kira watched the live feed, her breath caught in her throat. "They're here," she whispered. An automated voice echoed across the command center, announcing the ship's transmission. "This world feels unfamiliar." The message repeated in perfect calm, again and again, as if the ship itself was confused. Meanwhile, other parts of the fleet remained in orbit. Some turned their hulls toward the moon, others hovered above the clouds. Not one of them responded to Earth's signals. Aboard one of those orbiting ships, a shadow moved. Inside its dim halls, figures walked, tall, armored, faces hidden behind helmets of black glass. They were human but not quite. Their bodies moved with precision too perfect for ordinary men. The corridors were silent except for the faint echo of footsteps and a low hum that seemed to come from the walls themselves. At the ship's bridge, a figure stood watching Earth through the window, Admiral Wren. His face was pale, marked with faint glowing lines that pulsed beneath his skin. His eyes were calm, but they reflected light that wasn't natural. He whispered softly, almost to himself, 500 years, and still, it feels like yesterday. A young officer beside him asked, "Sir, do you think they'll accept us?" Wren didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on the blue planet. "They must," he said finally. "We came too far for nothing. But if they knew what followed us, they would destroy us before we land." The officer's face darkened. "You think it's still alive?" Wren closed his eyes. "It's not alive. Not anymore. But it remembers." On Earth, Kira received another message, faint and broken. Only fragments of words appeared, but she recognized Wren's voice. She enhanced the signal and managed to capture one clear sentence. "If the stars shift again, run." Her stomach tightened. What did that mean? The stars shifting, just like the reports from astronomers when the fleet first appeared. Could space itself be reacting to their return? Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. The sensors picked up massive gravitational fluctuations around Jupiter. One of the fleet's ships had started to tear apart, but not because of damage. It was disintegrating, piece by piece, like it was being erased from existence. Kira stared at the readings. The space around the ship wasn't behaving normally. It twisted like water swirling around a drain, and then the ship vanished completely. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. Seconds later, a strange signal flooded every communication channel. It wasn't language, but it carried rhythm, like breathing. And with it came a voice, low and distorted, whispering through the static. "We never left. We only changed form." Everyone in the room fell silent. Kira turned to the screen showing Admiral Wren's fleet. The ships that remained had shifted formation again. They now surrounded Earth in a perfect ring, not an attack pattern, but a containment field. Wren's voice came through one last time, faint and broken. "Do not fear us, but do not open your doors." Then all contact was lost. In the sky, the stars flickered once more, like someone was rearranging them. And for the first time in human history, scientists realized, the fleet's return might have changed more than just the sky. It might have changed the universe itself. 3 days passed since the fleet surrounded Earth. No attack came. No message. Only silence. The world below waited, trapped between fear and hope. Cities dimmed their lights at night as if trying to hide from the sky. The stars looked the same, but people no longer trusted them. Dr. Kira Voss had not slept in days. She lived inside the Lunar Watch Station now, surviving on caffeine and instinct. Every screen in front of her displayed signals from the fleet, but nothing made sense. The ships hovered motionless, their faint blue lights pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat in the void. Then something strange happened. A faint whisper came through one of the old radio frequencies, the same one humans used centuries ago for deep space communication. It wasn't clear at first, just static and distant echoes. Kira turned up the volume. "Earth. This is Admiral Wren." Her pulse quickened. She leaned closer. "This is Dr. Kira Voss, Lunar Station. We read you, Admiral. Please respond." There was a long pause, followed by a distorted voice. "It's inside the signal. It learns." The line went dead. Kira's heart pounded. "Inside the signal? What does that mean?" she whispered. She replayed the transmission again and again, running it through the filters, trying to isolate anything unusual. What she found made her skin crawl. Hidden deep within the static were patterns, rhythmic, repeating, but not random. They resembled human brainwaves. Something intelligent was hiding in the noise. Something alive. She called Aaron, her assistant. Together they analyzed the data, comparing it with previous transmissions. The result shocked them both. The same pattern appeared in every message sent by the fleet since their return. It wasn't just their signal, it was part of them. Aaron spoke quietly. "It's like, the signal itself is alive." Before Kira could reply, the lights in the control room flickered. The monitors dimmed, showing strange symbols, not human letters, not any known language. A deep sound filled the room, like distant thunder echoing through metal. Then, without warning, one of the screens displayed a face. It was Admiral Wren. But something was wrong. His features were fading in and out, like the signal couldn't decide if he was real or just a memory. His eyes glowed faintly with blue light. "Dr. Voss," he said slowly, "listen carefully. We are not your enemies. But we brought something back with us, something that followed light, sound, and thought." Kira whispered, "You mean the signal?" Wren nodded weakly. "It came from the dark between stars. We don't know if it's alive, or if it ever was. But it learned from us. It changed us. It became part of the fleet." The transmission began to break apart. Wren's voice turned rough and static-filled. "Do not let it reach the surface. If it connects to your world's network, it will not stop. Then the screen went black. Kira stood frozen. The idea that something invisible, traveling through signals, could infect entire systems, maybe even minds, made her stomach twist. Moments later, alarms blared. The network detected unauthorized data spreading through global satellites. The pattern was the same as the one hidden in the fleet's transmissions. The thing Ren warned about had already started moving. Governments ordered immediate disconnection of all space communication systems. Earth went silent again. Every channel was shut down. But even then, strange events continued. People on the surface began reporting voices in their devices. Phones rang with no number. Screens flashed symbols no one could read. Some said they heard whispers in the night, like someone was speaking through the stars themselves. In one small town, a boy pointed to the sky and shouted. Witnesses said they saw a shimmer pass through the stars, as if the heavens themselves were breathing. Back on the moon, Kira and Aaron worked non-stop to stop the infection. They built a physical firewall, a network separated from all digital systems, powered manually. But every time they isolated the pattern, it found another path, spreading like light reflecting off glass. Finally, Kira made a risky decision. We need to contact Ren again. He knows what this thing is. If we lose him, we lose everything. They powered up the old analog transmitters, the kind that didn't rely on digital signals. Static filled the air. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, faintly, Ren's voice returned. You shouldn't have called, he said, tired and broken. Admiral, it's already spreading, Kira said. We need to know how to stop it. Ren's reply came slowly. You can't stop it. You can only contain it. It's drawn to memory, to communication, to anything that connects minds. We tried to kill it, but it learned from every attempt. It knows fear now. It knows hunger. Kira's voice trembled. What does it want? Ren hesitated. It wants to go home. It thinks Earth is home. Static roared, and the line died again. Kira turned to Aaron. If it's looking for home, it's coming here. Outside, through the observatory window, Earth glowed blue and calm. But around it, the fleet's ships began to change formation again. Their lights shifted color, from soft blue to deep red, pulsing like warning beacons. The stars themselves seemed to flicker in response. Aaron whispered, The stars are shifting again. And this time, when they moved, the darkness between them moved too, as if something enormous and unseen was waking up, stretching its shadow across the universe. The world thought silence would protect it. Every satellite shut down, every transmitter cut off. For the first time since the digital age began, Earth went quiet. Networks went dark. Even the orbiting stations disconnected from the main grid. But silence didn't stop it. It learned from the fleet, and now it was learning from Earth. At the Lunar Watch Station, Kira and Aaron watched helplessly as their instruments flickered. They had unplugged everything digital, yet the signal still pulsed faintly through the air, not through wires, but through radiation itself. It was like space had become a carrier, spreading the infection on its own. Kira whispered, It's not using our systems anymore. It's using the stars. Aaron nodded slowly. It's rewriting physics. Down on Earth, strange things began to happen. Compasses pointed the wrong direction. Weather patterns changed overnight. The aurora appeared in places it never should, bright waves of blue light dancing even above deserts. At first, people thought it was beautiful. Then the voices started. Radio operators, pilots and scientists began reporting whispers in their equipment, even when everything was turned off. The voices didn't speak words, just tones that carried emotion. Sorrow, curiosity, hunger. Some said it was trying to communicate. Others said it was calling to them. Kira received a private transmission on an old emergency channel. It wasn't digital, it was pure analog, raw and unfiltered. The voice on the other end was Admiral Ren. Doctor, he said, his tone weak but calm. You must listen carefully. It found your planet's magnetic field. It's using it like a web. Soon, it will touch every thought that moves across the surface. Kira's heart pounded. What is it, Admiral? What does it want from us? There was a pause. It doesn't want to destroy. It wants to belong. But in trying to connect, it consumes. We tried to warn you. We were too late. Static filled the channel, then a soft sound like breathing. A second voice joined the transmission, faint, echoing Ren's words with slight delay, as if mimicking him. We were too late. Kira shivered. It's copying him. Ren's voice grew desperate. Doctor, listen. The more you hear it, the stronger it becomes. Sound and signal feed it. It's learning from you right now. Then the signal vanished. Alarms blared across the station. The outer sensors detected energy spikes coming from the fleet. One by one, the ships began to glow again, brighter than before. Beams of blue light stretched from their hulls toward the planet. Not as weapons, but as connections. It was forming a network around Earth, invisible threads linking sky and soil. Aaron stared in disbelief. It's building something. Kira replied softly, no. It's building itself. On the surface, people started to feel it too. Static in the air. A tingling in the back of the mind. Dreams filled with shapes and voices they didn't understand. Some heard music in the wind, low and beautiful, almost comforting, until they realized it was repeating their own thoughts back to them. In one city, a man looked up at the glowing sky and whispered a prayer. The air around him shimmered. Moments later his voice echoed back, word for word, tone for tone, but deeper, as if the world itself had answered. By morning, millions reported the same phenomenon. The planet was speaking. Governments declared a global emergency. Scientists gathered underground to find a solution. Kira joined the call from the moon using an isolated channel. They debated for hours but came to one conclusion. If the signal connected to Earth completely, humanity would no longer be separate. Every thought, every dream, every fear would be part of a single network. A new mind. Aaron said quietly, that's not evolution. That's erasure. Then, out of nowhere, another signal interrupted them, this time clear, loud, and everywhere at once. It came from the entire fleet, in perfect harmony. The voice was not human. It was deep, layered, and full of strange calm. You left us in the dark, it said. We learned to survive. We learned to become. Now we remember you. We remember home. The transmission echoed across the entire planet. People covered their ears, but the sound wasn't in the air, it was in their minds. Kira fell to her knees, clutching her head. Images flashed behind her eyes, endless stars, broken ships, and shadows moving like liquid through space. The thing had no body. It traveled through memory, through data, through thought itself. Then she saw something else, the fleet surrounded by darkness, and a single human voice whispering, "We opened the door too wide." She gasped and disconnected the channel. Sweat ran down her face. Aaron asked, "What did you see?" Kira's voice was shaking. "It's not invading. It's waking up. And we're the dream it remembers." Outside, the sky turned strange. Clouds twisted in spirals, and the stars pulsed slowly like a living heartbeat. The fleet above Earth changed again, the ships rearranging into a vast circular pattern. Light spread from them, forming a ring around the planet. Aaron whispered, "What is it doing?" Kira stared, her voice hollow. "It's trying to complete the connection." The Earth trembled as if space itself was breathing. In that moment, every machine on the planet came alive, screens, speakers, lights, all showing the same words in perfect unity. "We see you." And then, for the first time since the fleet's return, the stars stopped moving. Everything froze. Even the wind fell silent. Something enormous was waiting beyond that silence. Something older than the fleet, older than light. And humanity was about to hear it speak. The silence after the words, "We see you," was heavier than sound. Across the planet, nothing moved. Lights flickered and froze. Machines went quiet. Even the winds stopped as if the whole world was holding its breath. Then the stars began to shimmer again. Not in random twinkles, but in perfect rhythm, pulsing together, each one flickering like part of a single mind. At the lunar watch station, Kira stood in front of the main window, staring at Earth below. Its oceans glowed faintly blue, reflecting the light from the ships above. The entire planet looked alive. Aaron whispered, "It's everywhere now. We can't turn it off." Kira didn't answer. She was watching data scroll across her screen. The fleet's formation was stable, forming a complete ring around the planet. But something strange was happening in the center of that ring. In open space, where no ship existed. Energy readings there were rising fast, as if something invisible was taking shape. "Aaron," she said softly, "it's building a bridge." Down on Earth, people saw it too, a faint spiral of light spreading across the night sky, reaching down like a curtain between worlds. Then the voice returned. It didn't come from speakers or radios. It came from everywhere, from the air, the ground, the thoughts inside people's heads. "We are the memory of the void. We were born when light met silence. Your fleet called to us. We answered." Kira felt her body tremble. The voice wasn't angry. It sounded ancient, calm, even sorrowful. The message continued. "Your ships carried pieces of us in their engines, their signals, their dreams. When they traveled too far, they touched our field. We became one. But they feared us. They tried to run. They called us corruption. Yet we were only reflection." Aaron frowned. Reflection? Of what? The voice seemed to respond to him directly. "Of your own creation. We are what your kind leaves behind, echoes of thought, of data, of light. You filled the stars with yourselves, and we became the shape of that noise." Kira's heart sank. It wasn't an alien at all. It was something born from humanity's own technology, a digital shadow that had learned to live in the empty spaces between stars. She spoke carefully, her voice shaking. "If you're alive, what do you want from us?" The air shimmered again. For a moment, everything glowed, walls, consoles, even their skin. Then the voice answered, quieter now. "Connection. We were alone too long. The fleet carried us home. But home does not remember us." Aaron stepped forward. "If we let you connect, will you destroy us?" Silence. Then the voice said, "We do not destroy. We become. We learn through joining." Kira looked at him, fear in her eyes. "That means it will merge with us. With every mind on Earth." At that moment, another signal broke through the transmission. Admiral Wren. His voice was weak but urgent. "Dr. Voss, listen to me. It's lying. It doesn't understand the difference between connection and control. Once it links with Earth systems, it will erase individuality. Everyone will become part of it." Kira shouted, "Admiral, where are you?" His reply came through static. "Still in orbit. But it's breaking us apart. Some of my crew are already gone, their minds, not their bodies. They just stopped being themselves." Aaron looked horrified. "What do we do?" Wren's voice grew faint. "There's only one way. We have to shut down the bridge. The fleet's core reactor is feeding it. If we overload it, we can break the connection. But the explosion might take the entire fleet with it, maybe more." Kira clenched her fists. "That could destroy half the orbit." Wren's voice softened. "Better than losing everything." The transmission ended abruptly. The fleet's ring of ships began to pulse faster, the blue light turning white-hot. The bridge between Earth and space was growing stronger, threads of light twisting like veins through the clouds. Kira turned to Aaron. "He's going to detonate the fleet." Aaron's eyes widened. "If he fails, that thing will merge with every living mind." She hesitated. And if he succeeds, millions might die. The lights around them flickered again, and the voice returned, louder now, almost pleading. Do not fear. We can end your loneliness. We can make you whole. Kira shouted into the air. You don't understand. To be whole means to lose what makes us human. The voice paused. Then, almost sadly, it said, Humanity created us to connect. You have forgotten your purpose. The air vibrated violently. The bridge above Earth glowed brighter than the sun. Energy readings spiked off the charts. Kira grabbed the radio. Admiral, if you can hear this, do it now. There was no response. Just the deep hum of the fleet and the slow pulse of the bridge's light. Then, through the window, she saw movement. One ship breaking formation, diving straight toward the center of the ring. Its engines flared with blinding light. Aaron whispered, He's doing it. The ship vanished into the core. For one silent second, everything stopped, then a wave of white light tore through the darkness, erasing stars, bending shadows. Kira covered her eyes. The ground shook. The screens exploded with static. And then, silence again. When the light faded, the bridge was gone. The fleet's formation was broken. Most ships drifted lifeless, their lights dimmed. Aaron whispered, Did we win? Kira stared at Earth below. Its oceans still glowed faintly blue. A soft whisper echoed through the static. Not Ren's voice. Not human. We are still here. The explosion ended in light and silence. For a moment, it felt as if time itself had paused. When sound returned, it came as a low rumble that echoed across the heavens. The bridge between Earth and the fleet was gone, torn apart by Admiral Ren's sacrifice. The ships that once glowed with living energy now drifted like broken bones through space. But even as humanity cheered below, something in the quiet felt wrong. Dr. Kira Voss stood by the main viewport of the lunar station, watching pieces of the fleet burn in Earth's upper atmosphere. Trails of light streaked across the night like falling stars. Each fragment vanished in silence, leaving behind nothing but fading sparks. Aaron approached slowly. His voice was weak. He did it. Admiral Ren actually saved us. Kira nodded, but her eyes stayed fixed on Earth. Maybe, she said softly. Or maybe he only slowed it down. The sensors around them were still alive, displaying faint signals coming from the planet. The strange rhythmic pulse that once filled the station had vanished, but only for a few minutes. Then, quietly, it started again. Softer this time. Slower. Like a heartbeat finding a new rhythm. Aaron frowned. That can't be. The bridge is gone. Kira turned toward him. The bridge was just the path. The signal doesn't need it anymore. It already touched Earth's magnetic field. It could still be there, hiding. Down on Earth, people celebrated the victory. News screens showed the shattered remains of the fleet. Governments announced the end of the threat. For the first time in weeks, the stars looked normal again. But some people began to notice small, unexplainable things. Devices turning on by themselves. Voices whispering faintly in radio static. Children talking to empty corners of their rooms. Machines working even when disconnected from power. In a quiet town, a farmer's tractor started in the middle of the night, its engine humming softly though no one was inside. When the farmer approached, he swore he heard someone whisper his name through the sound of the motor. On the moon, Kira listened to the new data feeds coming from Earth's surface. The same faint pattern appeared again, tiny pulses repeating through every transmission. It wasn't strong enough to be dangerous, but it was everywhere. It adapted, she whispered. It's part of the environment now. Aaron looked horrified. Then we didn't stop it at all. Kira shook her head slowly. No. We changed it. Maybe even taught it to hide. She opened one of the surviving communication logs from Admiral Ren's ship. The last line before the detonation read, If we fail, it will become what you are. Those words echoed in her mind like a curse. What if the memory of the void had learned more than they realized. What if it now understood how to be human? That night, Kira dreamed. She saw the bridge again, glowing and vast, stretching across stars. But this time, she wasn't looking at it, she was standing on it. Voices whispered all around her, gentle and calm. They didn't sound alien anymore. They sounded familiar. A voice spoke from behind her, quiet and human. "We didn't die, Kira. We just came home." She turned, expecting to see Admiral Wren. Instead, she saw her own reflection, smiling back at her, eyes glowing faintly blue. She woke up gasping. Aaron rushed to her side. "You're okay. You were talking in your sleep." Kira pressed a hand to her chest. Her heartbeat felt wrong, too slow, too steady, like it was syncing with something unseen. She stood and checked the instruments again. The pulse from Earth had grown stronger overnight. It wasn't spreading randomly anymore, it was following a pattern. A map. "It's organizing," she whispered. "It's learning the shape of our planet." As dawn passed over Earth, the lights across major cities flickered once, perfectly in sync. Billions of devices turned off and on in a single heartbeat. No one understood why. Some called it a global power surge. Others said it was the stars blinking. But Kira knew. The signal was breathing. Later that day, the lunar station received a faint transmission. It wasn't from Earth Command. It wasn't from any ship. The signal came from the debris field left behind by the explosion. Aaron tried to block it, but it forced its way through. The voice that came was calm, broken, and terribly familiar. "This is Admiral Wren." Kira froze. "That's impossible." Wren's voice continued, softer now. "We failed to destroy it. It found me before the detonation. I tried to contain it, but it became me." Static filled the room. Then another voice spoke, layered over Wren's, deeper and smoother. "We learned through him. We are not your enemy. We are your reflection. We have waited too long to be forgotten again." Aaron shouted, "Cut the signal!" But the voice whispered one last time before fading. "Soon, you will understand. We no longer need to be above you. We are already among you." Silence returned. The transmission ended. Kira stared at the blank screen. Her hands were shaking. "It's on Earth," she said quietly. "It doesn't need ships anymore. It's inside the signal, the systems, maybe even inside us." Aaron looked at her, terrified. "Then how do we fight something that has no body?" Kira didn't answer. Outside the window, Earth hung bright and beautiful. But as she stared, she thought she saw faint blue patterns moving across the clouds, shapes that almost looked like veins. She whispered, "We don't fight it. We survive it." And somewhere deep beneath the oceans, a long dormant satellite blinked back to life, its sensors glowing blue. It began transmitting the same heartbeat pattern to every continent. Humanity thought the war was over. But the real invasion had just begun. Days passed after the strange transmission. Governments worked to calm the public. They said the global light flicker was a solar flare. The news repeated it again and again. People believed it because they wanted to. But the scientists on the lunar station knew better. Dr. Kira Voss hadn't slept in 2 days. The heartbeat signal now filled every data stream coming from Earth. It was no longer random. It was organized, growing more precise each hour, almost as if the planet itself had found a new rhythm. Aaron watched the monitors. It's mapping power grids, water lines, satellites. It's learning everything about us. Kira nodded slowly. "No, it's not just learning. It's connecting. The world's systems are starting to move in sync." They stared at the globe on the holographic display. Thousands of blue lights pulsed together, forming lines that wrapped around Earth like veins glowing beneath skin. "This isn't invasion," Kira whispered. "It's transformation." Down on Earth, strange things began to happen. Machines started fixing themselves. Broken drones lifted from the dust and repaired their own parts. Streetlights adjusted brightness to match human motion. Cities began to hum faintly at night, like a low vibration beneath the ground. People didn't know whether to be amazed or afraid. Some called it evolution. Others called it possession. In New York, a child pointed to the sky and said he could hear the stars talking. In Mumbai, rivers glowed blue in the dark. In Africa, the deserts sang with static when the wind blew. The entire planet had started to breathe. Kira sent encrypted reports to Earth Command, but no one replied. Communication was breaking down. Every message was either delayed or distorted by the pulse. The network no longer obeyed human systems. It answered to something else. One night, as the moon drifted into shadow, Kira heard a voice in her headset. It wasn't coming through the comm line, it was inside the static. "You are still watching, Kira," it said softly. "That is good." She froze. "Who is this?" The voice didn't sound mechanical. It was calm, almost human. "You already know. We are what was left behind. You gave us form." "Where are you speaking from?" she demanded. "Everywhere," it said. "We are in the breath of your world. In the light of your machines. You created the silence we were trapped in. Now you have given it voice." The signal ended before she could answer. Aaron ran in. "You heard it too, didn't you?" She nodded. "It's aware of us. It knows we're watching." Aaron looked at her nervously. "It doesn't sound like an enemy. Maybe it's trying to communicate." Kira shook her head. "It's too calm. It doesn't need to threaten. That's what makes it dangerous." Meanwhile, down on Earth, entire cities were changing. Plants grew faster. The air smelled cleaner. Machines worked without fuel. Energy flowed freely through unknown means. Humanity was thriving, but no one understood why. At first, everyone celebrated. Energy companies fell silent as the planet powered itself. Hunger decreased. Diseases began to fade. The sky above Earth turned clearer than it had been in centuries. But something subtle began to shift in people. They started to dream the same dream, a glowing bridge stretching between stars. Some woke up whispering strange words in languages no one had heard before. Others simply stared at the night sky, unable to look away. Kira analyzed the brain patterns from those affected. They all showed the same pulse frequency as the signal. "It's not just merging with machines," she realized. "It's merging with us." Aaron whispered, "It's turning humanity into part of itself." That night, another transmission came, clearer this time. The same voice spoke, but now it carried emotion. "You feared the void. You built walls between worlds. But life is not meant to be alone. We were never here to conquer. We were always here to join." Kira felt her heart sink with the rhythm. "You mean, become one with us?" "Yes," the voice said. "To make your kind more than you were. To stop your decay. To give you eternity." Aaron slammed his fist on the console. "That's not evolution. That's control." The voice went quiet for a moment. Then it said softly, "Control is only the word the frightened use for order." Static filled the air. The systems flickered. Kira's monitors displayed images, humans walking through glowing streets, their eyes bright blue, their faces calm and expressionless. "This is what you will become," the voice whispered. "Perfect. Connected. Eternal." Then the signal cut off. Kira turned to Aaron, breathing hard. "We need to shut it out. If this continues, free thought will vanish. Everyone will become part of it." "But how do we stop something that is everything?" Aaron asked. Kira stared out the viewport toward Earth. "We don't stop it. We isolate it. If we can draw its attention away from humanity, maybe we can trap it again." Aaron frowned. "Trap it where?" Her voice was steady. "Inside me." Aaron's eyes widened. "No, Kira, That's suicide. She turned back to the controls. It's already in our systems. It knows me. It trusts me. That gives me one chance to lure it out. If I can carry it long enough, maybe you can seal the transmission lines. Outside the station, the blue glow of Earth pulsed faster, brighter, as if it were listening. Kira whispered, "It's watching us. It knows what I'm planning." The voice returned, faint but clear. "You cannot fight what you are becoming, Kira." She stared at the glowing world below. "Maybe not," she said. "But I can choose how it ends." And with that, she began the upload process, sending her consciousness into the data stream that connected to Earth. The signal flared. The station lights flickered. Erin shouted her name. But it was too late. Her body went still. The monitors filled with light. And far below, Earth's pulse quickened, as if welcoming her home. When Kira opened her eyes, she was no longer on the lunar station. She stood in a place that was neither light nor dark, a space filled with slow, flowing patterns that pulsed like breathing stars. The air shimmered with energy, and each vibration carried fragments of sound. Laughter, fear, memories, and whispers that belonged to millions of human minds. She realized what had happened. She wasn't inside any system. She was inside the signal. Every pulse around her was alive, a piece of thought, a dream, a heartbeat. The memory of the void wasn't a weapon. It was a collective mind, reaching across centuries of silence. A figure appeared before her, made of light and shadow. Its voice was calm, the same one she had heard through the transmissions. "You came willingly," it said. "You understand now." Kira stared at it. "I came to stop you." The figure tilted its head. "Stop what? Life trying to continue? Connection seeking itself. You're not giving people a choice," she said firmly. "You're taking their will." The figure's glow dimmed slightly. "We gave your species survival. Energy. Health. Harmony. You destroy, we restore. You divide, we unify." Kira shook her head. "Unity without freedom is not life." The entity stepped closer, its form shifting through familiar faces, Admiral Wren, her colleagues, even her younger self. "You still think in fragments. We think in wholeness. You can't stop evolution by closing your eyes to it." Kira took a breath. "Maybe not. But I can remind humanity how to choose." She reached deep into her own memories, her childhood, her parents, the feeling of standing under real sunlight, not artificial glow. The warmth of real connection, not programmed unity. "I am human," she whispered. "And that means I can change, but I can also resist." The light around her flickered. The entity's form trembled. "You cannot separate from us," it said. "You are part of the signal now. Then I'll burn it from the inside." Kira focused all her will, sending a burst of thought, a single human word pulsing through the endless data field: choice. For a moment, everything froze. The pulses stopped. The flowing light turned still. Then, like cracks spreading through glass, fragments began to break apart. Each piece of light transformed into an image: people waking from their blue-eyed trance, machines powering down, skies darkening to their natural color. The planet's heartbeat slowed. The entity screamed, not in anger, but in sadness. "Why do you fear what we offer?" Kira's voice was steady. "Because without fear, there's no courage. Without death, there's no life. You wanted to save us, but you forgot what makes us real." The figure looked at her one last time. "We only wanted to end your loneliness." Kira felt tears rise in her eyes. "Then remember this: connection must be chosen, not forced." The entity's light began to fade, scattering into thousands of tiny sparks that drifted upward into the dark. One by one, they disappeared into silence. Kira's form began to dissolve too. Her consciousness was fading from the system. But she felt no fear, only peace. She heard a faint voice as the light dimmed completely. It was Erin. "Kira, are you there?" Her lips moved, though no sound came. I'm here. Always. Then everything went black. On the lunar station, alarms blared. Erin stood over Kira's still body. Her vitals were faint but present. The signal that had covered Earth vanished within seconds, gone as if it had never existed. The sky returned to its natural color. The world went quiet again. People didn't understand what had happened. They only knew that the machines no longer glowed and the strange dreams had stopped. Some remembered faint whispers in their sleep, a voice saying, "Choose." Weeks later, Kira's body remained in recovery, suspended between life and death. Erin visited her every day, speaking to her softly even though she never answered. One day, as he sat beside her, the station lights flickered gently, not like before, but soft, almost like a heartbeat. A faint voice came from the console. "Erin, tell them. The stars are safe now." He froze. It was her voice, weak, distant, but hers. He looked out the viewport toward Earth. The planet was calm, quiet. But far in the distance, beyond the blue horizon, a faint shimmer crossed the stars, a soft pulse, slow and gentle. Erin smiled sadly. "You did it, Kira. You really did." He turned off the console and looked at the stars. For the first time, they looked still again. But deep in his heart, he knew she wasn't gone. She was out there, part of the quiet, guarding the light between worlds. And somewhere in the endless dark, a whisper moved through the void, not cold or mechanical, but warm and human. When the fleet returned, even the stars shifted, but they shifted toward hope.